Morning, everyone. Be seated.
Tell us the gist of the conversation that you had with Mark Abbott, where he talked about being a witness to the Michelle Lawless murder.
He said that Michelle Lawless got into her car, him and Kevin Williams got into their truck, and as she was going northbound on Interstate, they followed her. He was flashing his lights. Basically, she pulled over on the exit ramp at the Benton exit. He said he stayed in the vehicle. Kevin Williams got out. They went up, talked a little bit, argued some more, and he said he heard some gunshots, and then he said Kevin Williams ran off toward the east, toward the Farrell Mobile Homes business. And it's at that time he went to report the shooting to the Sheriff's Department.
Now, I told you that the state took the deposition of Mark Abbott a couple of weeks ago up in prison. And Mark Abbott says you're a liar and you ought to take a polygraph test.
I wouldn't expect any different from him.
Well, we were fixing to go fishing, and I was in the cabin. I think Sammy was outside getting things ready. And the door opened, and Mark Abbott and a friend who I'd never seen before and did not know was with him, and they came in. I'm sure we addressed each other. At that time, I'd heard that Mark had been the one who had came up on this incident and had made the call to the Sheriff's Department. And so that struck up a conversation. And in that conversation, Mark kind of snickered a little bit and said, well, they got the wrong guy.
At this time that you spoke with Mark Abbott, did you have any knowledge that he was a person who used methamphetamine?
Yes, I did. I had heard that.
You had heard that?
I did not witness him doing that, but I had heard that, yes.
And did he seem a little strange or in any way strange or incoherent?
I didn't think that he did, no. Not at the time. I would have to say not, but I'm not an expert as to what somebody needs to look like or act like if they're on drugs. So I couldn't really say one way or the other, but no, he acted okay.
You were taken in there.
When I was taken in there, I was sit down in a seat in front of Bill Farrell's desk. Of course, he was sitting in his seat. The lady and the gentleman were to the right of us. And he was just basically asking me, questions like, how are you doing? Do you need anything to drink? How was the trip? Things like that. And because I had never been through any kind of process like this, I didn't know any better. And out of nowhere, very suddenly, he came unglued. He came across the desk.
He stood up?
He stood up, put his hands on the desk, and in a very angry face and a very angry tone, then accused me, and I quote, of killing his little girl.
And how did that hit you?
I really, it's hard to explain how it hit me. I was stunned. I went from no tears to instant tears. I didn't know what was going on. I was under the impression my father was going to be able to come down and bond me out, and we were going to figure this out, and I was going to go back home and go back to work at Kmart and try to do something with my life, and all of a sudden it just occurred to me almost instantly, these people are trying to do something to me wrong. It was then informed to me it was just informed to me that I was going to be in, they were making it very clear that they were going to make sure that, that I went to prison for this.
You broke down at the time and cried?
Yeah. Very much so. I was terrified.
Were you in Kankakee, Illinois at that time?
During November?
Yes.
During the time of the homicide, yes, I was.
And were you or your relatives able to try to pinpoint some documentation that showed you were there at that time?
Yes, they were.
And tell me how you were able, or how they were able to determine that you were in Kankakee, Illinois on November 7th and 8th, 1992.
Me and my cousin Michael, we knew a lot of the same people. And somebody informed me that there had been a car accident. And that Michael and Christina, that was the girlfriend, were in the car. And I got scared because, you know, it was my cousin Michael to begin with, and she was pregnant, so I was worried about the baby. So I went over to the house. I was only, I don't know, it was about a half mile, 6 blocks so away from their house. So I went over to their house. That was around, I remember being between 11 and 12, 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. of November 7th. I went over there and I knocked on the door. It was very late at night. Almost all the lights were off. I saw a glimmer of a light and I figured that was a TV. So I went and I knocked on the door, and Brenda came to the door, and she seen how upset I was in my face, that something was wrong, and she immediately assumed that I knew about the car accident and began to inform me that they were okay. Michael had suffered a bump on his head, but the baby was fine, everything was fine. And that if I wanted to find out more information, I can come over the next day when everybody would be awake. That's when I left and went back to the Griffey's house. And you were going to go interview someone or talk to the sheriff about the case, and that's when you discovered that without our knowledge, they had reopened the case, which was a shock. But it was a pleasant shock. You know, I mean, and things kind of then have just kind of kept going and going and going, and I went, within a short period, being a man who was trying to accept hopelessness. It's very difficult, to a man who has a lot of hope now, who I kind of, you know, it just feels like things are, you know, I got a chance to maybe get out of here while I'm still young. That too is now weird to me, because just like when I got locked up at first and the culture was foreign to me, it's kind of hard to explain, but after being locked up for so long, I don't even remember what it's like to be free.